Hello, everyone. I am your host, Zoe, and you guys are joining me for another episode of Seniors at Play. Today we have author Sarada with us. Hello, how are you?
Hi, Zoe.
It's so great having you here today.
Well, thank you for having me over.
Of course, of course. So apparently you wrote a book called Home at Last.
Yes.
You can show the viewers if you'd like. Awesome. So I just wanted to ask you some questions about Home at Last, getting some enlightenment on your book. So I do want to reference a page in your book. It's page 20. And you said, after meditating for a year and a half, becoming even more deeply immersed in my practice, I began to lose interest in my job. So what was the job that you were doing, and is that the reason for you retiring from your job?
Yeah. I was working in a pharmaceutical company,
Okay.
J&J to be exact. I worked there many years. And then later on, I'm married, I have 2 kids and everything. So there's a lot of going on with me. And I suddenly had this, interest or thoughts coming to me about doing something else and, wanting something else or searching for something else while I was doing that. And then I eventually, that kind of led me to learning Reiki. A healing practice due to an issue with my husband, gone through a heart attack.
Okay.
And, that sort of made me get worried about it. And I said, what can I do other than normal procedures and things that people go through? I wanted to do something different, something that would heal, people and get them better sooner.
Okay.
And so I learned Reiki. That's a healing method where you take energy from the cosmos and pass it on, channel it out through your hands, and you can make them comfortable or get better sooner than as opposed to a lot of people use that Reiki.
Okay.
And that sort of led me into meditation, and that's how it all started. Actually, my journey, wanting to learn something different.
Right.
And so I started doing meditation, and one thing led to another, and I started liking meditation, enjoyed being in that, quietly sitting down and meditating and all that. Sooner or later, then I said to myself, well, gee, working full time and doing everything and running around with my, doing everything was just too much for me.
Right.
So then I decided, I think it's time that I just want to give up the job.
Okay.
And pursue this interest of mine, what has been driving me toward,
Okay.
That's when I gave up my job
Right.
at pharmaceutical.
Okay.
And I started meditating more and more and taking care of my house and everything else. My husband was working then back to normal after his heart attack. And
That's
everything.
good.
So things are moving around. And that's when I think it's almost like 20 years I gave up my job, And it's like going after what interests you.
Right.
That's what it's all about in
Of
life.
course, yeah.
Or sometimes for some people, it happens that you want to give up something that you've already been doing and turn around and do something different. And for some people, it's an effort. They have to, think about it. What is it that I'm going to do after I retire?
Right.
Or what is it how do I spend my life?
Right.
And a lot of people have that issue as well. What to do with themselves after they retire.
Of course.
And in my case, like, retirement was taking place because I wanted to do something else.
Right.
That's the difference.
Right. And that's good that it just kind of flowed naturally.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's
awesome.
what happened. Exactly.
So with Reiki, I'm sure that there are levels, because when I think of meditation, of course, I'm thinking, sitting down, I'm quiet, my eyes are closed, but I have an issue with the concentration aspect. I know that there's just, it's not just a matter of just sitting down and closing your eyes. So it's like, how long did it take you to reach that real level of meditation through Reiki? Yeah.
That's a good question, yeah. Meditation, I never was a spiritual person to begin with, I wasn't doing anything for a long time, way into my adult life. Meditation really is difficult for a lot of people because you get all these thoughts, you're restless, you don't want to just sit quietly and, think about other things, and all sorts of things happen. So it does take time, but for me, strangely, it sort of did not give me any trouble. I was able to meditate very nicely. That you're sitting down, focusing, concentrating on one pointed object. That's what it's all about. Meditation is about that. Meditation is sitting quietly, close your eyes, not let the thoughts take over you.
Okay.
It's all about focus and concentration on just that one point. Could be your heart, could be your in between your eyebrows, in the middle of your, like how do they say it? That's a third eye area. That's what people say, Just focus and relax and let go everything. Don't think about your past, don't think about your future and what you have to do and all sorts of things. Just try and relax. And that's what the meditation does.
Okay.
And eventually, if you practice enough, it'll take you each level higher and higher.
Right. So.
And that's how I did it. I became a passion on it. It was really doing a lot of it, as if meditation taught me how to meditate. I didn't really have a teacher, nor anybody taught me how to meditate. Right. It taught me how to meditate.
Yeah.
So it was great, I thought. And then I got eventually with practice, after a couple of years later, I went deeper and deeper into it.
Right.
And eventually the purpose of meditation, for some people, it'll take you to self-realization. That's what it's called, it's higher and higher levels of reaching higher levels of consciousness. That's what they call it, or self-realization. Who are we? What's it all about, life, Why are we here? That type of a knowledge. I think some call it truth, find out the truth. And a lot of religions use that term. And it's the same thing. And so eventually down the line, after many years of meditation, there's a change in perception takes place for each individual when they're meditating. And that takes you into self-realization.
Right.
And that's how it went for me.
Right. That's awesome. That's
I
really
just gave
cool.
you a whole story of how that all takes you.
This makes me honestly want to try, because I'm like, I have like a little gray hair, and I'm just like.
But meditation does a lot of stuff. It's not
Right.
just for self-realization.
Right.
It reduces your stress, makes you think better, and calms you down, relaxes you,
Right, I
and
need
lowers
that.
your BP. And people that have issues, it works like miracles. More than the medicines.
More than medicine. Yes.
Meditating is far better.
That's
If you
true.
can afford to sit for 5 minutes every day,
Right.
Same place, same time, it does wonders.
Okay.
Eventually, with practice, it'll take you there.
I'll definitely consider that, because I
Yeah.
prefer more, natural solutions and
Exactly.
doctors and medication and everything.
Right.
But you mentioned self-realization. You mentioned truth. You also mentioned in your book enlightenment and oneness and non-duality. So I was wondering, what do you identify with the most? Also, cosmic consciousness. What really kind of came through for you during your journey?
Well, actually, all those terms mean the same thing.
Okay.
It means reaching. It's like simple way of saying would be, how do you recognize your divinity within?
Okay.
Because we all think God is someplace else,
Right.
but God is really within us. God is nothing but energy, consciousness.
Okay.
Same thing, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
You can call it God, you can call it energy, you can call it consciousness, you can call it divine, whatever. There's so many people call it different things. But it all means the same thing, reaching and acknowledging and realizing that that divinity, that's God, that's out there in the universe is within us. We are all part of that.
Right.
That's what it's all about. And we all will evolve to know and realize that eventually. That's the point. That's what my book talks about. How does one, mine was through practice of meditation, but a lot of people do a lot of spiritual practices, right? They do go to church, they pray God, devotion, and they do yoga, they do, I don't know, there are a million ways that you reach out to God. So all are part of it. We're all evolving through that. We all will reach that point where perhaps later on get to meditation also. All these things are helping you get to that point, and people will eventually meditate, and to get to that realization. And some people, all the other methods are giving you help, in other words, devotion, yoga, this, that, what have you. People do that. And all these are preparing you to know the truth,
Right.
to know and realize your divine resides within us.
Right.
He's not somewhere sitting up there. Whatever up there is within us.
Right.
Because we're just part of that piece.
Right.
That's what it's all about.
Yes, I like
And that's
that.
what my book is about.
Right, that's awesome. So I go on YouTube, and when I find myself wanting to relax, there is meditation music. Do you like to meditate with music in the background, or do you prefer quiet?
Yeah, I know a lot of people do that because they'll put them in that mood of sitting and kind of like relaxing more. It helps them, some of them. So go ahead and do that.
Right.
But in my case, I never did that. I rather preferred just to be silent, sitting down quietly, and no music, no mantra. Some people say things, like Om or something like that, right?
Yeah.
No, I never did that.
Okay.
It was sitting, relaxing, and focusing and concentrating, letting go the thoughts, letting go all the disturbances. That's what it's all about.
Okay.
And each individual's constitution is different. So some people can do that right away, and some cannot. So it takes time. For some people, it just comes automatically, like it did for me. And that means, like I said, we're all evolving. It takes time for some. And some people are behind, and some people are ahead of us.
Right.
And that's what it says.
I understand.
So it's not like no judgment on that,
Right,
well,
it's
just this one is not there yet or anything, nothing like
Your
that.
process is your process.
Exactly. And somebody else's will get there.
Right.
But we all will get there.
Right. So how would you say this journey affected you, your family, relationships, social life? I was informed that you like to travel as well. So how did that, go into play with just your lifestyle beyond your moments of silence and meditation?
Yeah, it did have a big impact later on, because my interest was more toward this, not toward any kind of other things that you want to do with your family.
Okay.
Like, a lot of times you lose interest in normal things that everybody finds exciting.
Okay.
Like, shopping, doing this, going to parties, having a couple of drinks, what have you. All these type of wants and doing stuff reduces a lot because you're meditating and you're going deeper and deeper level of being, finding out what life is all about.
Right.
So this did affect my family initially, but my family was pretty much supportive. My kids were grown up. They're out of the house already. They didn't really bother me that much. I mean, they know that I meditated all the time, and I got into some kind of a spiritual practice, and they understood, they understand a lot of these things, though they're not into it a lot like I have. So is my husband, he understands everything, and he used to travel a lot.
Okay.
And I used to travel with him, but later on, at some point, I decided not to go along with him because my interest was different. So I pursued my interest while he was traveling, and at times I go with him, but at times I would stay back and just do what I wanted to do.
Right.
And I think everybody should do that, even when you're retired. Just because you're husband and wife, you don't have to do everything together.
Right.
Each one's interest is different. We all pursue what we want, and that's good for your mind and your health, actually, to do what you like to do. And let each one should give that freedom to each other.
Of course.
A husband should give freedom to wife, or wife, if whatever he wants. I mean, we're still together. It's not like you're separate. But I think we should pursue what makes one happy.
Of course.
And that's what I believe in.
And that's what life's about, right?
Right.
Of course.
And a lot of people have trouble with that.
They
I
do.
don't think they do.
They want to satisfy
Yeah, exactly.
the people they love.
Right.
Naturally.
So that's what we both did in my house, and my husband and I. I mean, we used to let go, let people do what they want. He used to let me do what I want. I used to let him do whatever he wants. So we both pursued our interests.
Right.
My husband is a businessman. He's always in a go-getter.
Oh yes, of course he is very busy, and you're
Busy,
more
tranquil.
relaxed. So it's like polar opposites.
I rather, exactly.
Opposites track.
Yeah,
So
that is true.
that's good.
So not necessarily you have to have everything common
Right. Of
in a
course.
marriage.
Of course.
That's how it was for me.
So in your book, you didn't know what the cause of your unexplicable sadness and change in behavior was. So how were you able to kind of communicate your feelings with your husband if you yourself couldn't really understand what it was that you were going through mentally?
That was a good question. Wow. You read that part of it, huh? No, yeah, that is a lot of times, I wanted to say maybe I did write in my book a lot of those details. A lot of things that I would never tell my husband even, the feelings I've been going through or the turmoil I was going through with this process that's been pushing me to do deeper and deeper meditations, that gives you a lot of changes within. The perception of life changes usually, when you get into deeper and deeper. So as a result, your behavior changes, your way of speaking changes, and you don't show much interest in a lot of things that your spouse wants you to, or the other way around, So there can be issues come about. But the way I used to think is that all these things are happening to me, therefore I should make the adjustment, not somebody else. You know what I mean? It's my change, my way of being has been different. Therefore, I have to put in the effort to calm it down, or not to just get irritated or get mad all the time. Right. Initially, those things used to happen a lot for me. I never used to like the way things were. I used to get mad. I used to get irritated, frustrated, all these things were there. But I learned later on how to calm myself and how to kind of deal with the situations, still make other people happy and make them comfortable in the situation you're in. And that's my job. That's how I managed. Later, I found a teacher, of course. A lot of people, these spiritual people, find teachers.
Okay.
They help you also.
Okay.
And I found a teacher. Her name is Amma.
Okay.
She's from south of India originally, and she's an enlightened sage. People that are already been kind of realized beings, we call it. I used to talk to her about it, my issues. So, like, I had to find a teacher so that I can connect and kind of explain the things that are. But I never really talked about all these things to my family members.
Okay.
All the turmoil that was going on initially.
Right.
But later on, they understood, and they also. My husband knew later on a lot of things about me.
Okay, because when you were ready to disclose that, and it's all about when you're comfortable to talk about it, and you had,
yeah, I wouldn't tell the details; they wouldn't understand if you're not doing meditation or doing in the same route as I was going.
Right.
A lot of people don't understand a lot of these things that are going. It's almost like depression sometimes. You kind of get depressed, So a lot of these issues, I used to handle them myself, and by talking to my teacher and things like that.
Right, and meditating.
Right.
That's
and meditating
good.
Continuously.
Right.
Then you get better and better in handling the world,
Right.
and the interactions within the outer world.
Right.
That's what happened.
Cool. So when did you kind of get to the point where you were like, okay, I have reached self-realization, like I am here? When did you feel that way, and how did it make you feel?
Yeah. My process took me almost 8 years.
Okay.
That's a long process. Step at a time, something always changing, something always different about me. That's when you go deeper and deeper into, how do you say that quietude, that silence, that dimension of, they call it different levels of being. We call it, like right now, without self-realization, we are always with this called ego.
Okay.
Ego-driven life,
Okay.
Well, I'm this, I'm that, I get this great job. That's all because of ego, right? We have this ego.
Yeah.
And normally, people are with ego-driven life. But when you self-realized and know who you are, and you connect with that divinity, your divine within, like I was telling you before, and that's, you can connect with the universal divine, universal God, or whatever. The whole, universe is divine.
Right.
It's all energy, really, or consciousness, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
When you do connection, that's when you know you're self-realized, You get that connection through meditation. That's called deepest level of being, on that dimension. You kind of go and mix. It's reuniting with the source you come from. That's what I should say, It's almost like we are searching and searching, and all of a sudden you find who you are.
Right.
What life is all about, why you're here, That's what it is.
Right.
When you self-realize.
And is it definitely a ding moment, like you identify as like I'm here, or is it just more so a gradual thing where
It's
it's
a
like
gradual process.
I once was not and now I am? It's more so like, wow, this is over time when you look back, it's more of like a reflection thing, right?
Yeah, it's like you're getting rid of that ego
Okay.
energy within you, in an ego-driven life.
Okay.
You just push that aside, and you're living with actual true nature of yourself, the way you're supposed to be, like with divine qualities, attributes, with lots of love, helping out people, and thinking that, this is what the life is, instead of getting mad and prejudice and all sorts of these different qualities we develop over time.
Right.
They're all because of ego-ness.
Right.
And that goes, therefore all the rest go. So you become more tranquil, more divine way of looking things. Your perception of life changes. Well, that's how it is, and these are here. We're all together. We all have the same ingredients within us, which is God. That part of the God is within us.
Right.
Therefore, we all must be equal.
Right.
The equality becomes, and that love for everybody else. What is it I can help somebody else? That becomes more prominent, more, want to help out more. No longer it's about you continuously, what can I get out of it? Or things like that. Unconditional love, regardless of what you do for others.
Right.
You don't expect anything back. All these things happen later. And that's when everything changed.
Okay.
And you live in the life later
Right.
on, like I'm doing right now.
Right. And I'm sure the blessings pour in with that sort of mentality.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of positives about that. You're much more relaxed, much more free. It's called freedom. You know who you are, and you're kind of like putting your best effort into whatever you want to do. It can manifest for you. Whatever your intent is, let's say you want to go do this, a project of helping out somebody and set up something for a poor, you go do it. Anything you want to do. You use your full potential to do everything. Whereas before, you're not using your full potential. You're kind of like limited pretty much. So you live with that limited awareness and limited potential. And that's why we all have to go and meditate and become self-realized, so we can get better in this world as far as functioning goes.
Right.
And that's the purpose of it.
Right.
And that's what I write all about it in this book.
Yes, that's super awesome. So would you say that writing your book, Home at Last, signifies the end of your journey, or are you continuing to kind of reach new levels, or at least trying to?
No, self-realization is the end of the journey.
Okay.
It's called enlightenment.
Okay.
And you live with that way with that consciousness. When you unite, it's like almost like a river joining with the ocean.
Okay.
It goes into the ocean and joins, right? That means here's the God, the big picture, divine consciousness, and this little river goes and joins it. That means it's united everything, right? Can you tell the difference where's the river and the ocean anymore? There is no difference. With that consciousness, you come back, this whole system changes, your mind, your way of looking at life changes, and that's how you live. You continue living that way with all the good things. Like I just told you about using your full potential and that tranquility and that evenness, equanimity, you function better.
Okay.
So no, I think that's the end of the answer your question. Yeah, that's the end of the process. And then I wrote about it in this book, so other people that are meditating or into any kind of a spiritual practice can understand better with getting my book, because I write all the things that had happened throughout 8 years or 7 years of the process I had gone through.
Right.
I used to write down a journal, and I kept a journal every time something's happening with the energy and all sorts of things that changes, All those details are in the book. And how do you need to take care of your health? How do you function? How do you exercise? How do you sleep? What to eat? Don't eat so much, don't overeat, undereat. All the details. You got to take care of this body.
Of course.
Because if you don't take care of the body, nothing works. You have to be healthy. Your mind has to be at peace. And how do you control your mind? Everything. All those are very important for to go through a spiritual practice like the way I had done. And all that information is in this book.
Yes, look, after viewers see this, I'm sure they're going to want to pick it up, because I'm sure there's a lot of people who want to reach this point in life and just kind of get some tranquility, because life can be very stressful and very overwhelming. So
yeah, that's a very good thing, because people can not only get that, I write details about how to meditate, why we have to meditate, and so they can learn how to meditate. Even simplest things they want to know, it's in the book. You know, why do we need to do some kind of a spiritual practice as we grow older, as we retire? What is, we got to do something to change our way of being, So it keeps us going, and more and deeper. You're evolving better as you grow, aging,
Right.
So that's important for people that are retiring and just settle down or stay home. Don't just stay home watching television 24/7.
Right.
Because that's not good for your mind.
It's not. Or your body.
Exactly.
Couch potato.
Exactly. You got to be active. You got to exercise. You got to do a lot of stuff.
Right. Take care of the body that is yours. Right. So what are your plans for the future, pretty much?
Now what I do is I do a lot of talks about my book.
Okay.
And I educate people that are, like I said, anybody that's into any kind of a spiritual practices can listen to my talk about enlightenment or self-realization, whatever. They both are the same. What's it all about, How do you get that capacity to go through that process? When do you get that capacity to go through that process? Things like that I talk about. And I educate, I go to a lot of libraries even, for communities. I help out, discussing all these things, and they ask a lot of questions. And that's what I do now. I'm still with my husband. I'm still with my family. I didn't leave anybody. And I continue keeping myself busy with that.
Right.
Which is a great thing, I think. And
that
I help
is a
out.
Marvelous thing.
I do a lot of charity work as well.
Good. Good.
I travel sometimes. I go to India each year. And even in this country, there's so much to do. You can, I do help out in soup kitchens sometimes. And I do work with them.
That's nice.
I do a lot of stuff.
That's great. That's awesome.
Keeps me busy.
I know, yes, because you have 24 hours, right?
That's right.
Right? So what advice would you give to viewers who are interested in starting this journey?
You mean starting into meditation or any kind of spiritual practice?
That journey, yes.
Yeah, I would say it's good, because I think it's a must that we should all do something different with our lives, as opposed to routine things we always do, just kind of chit-chatting or socializing or activities in general. They're okay. But I think to kind of like, we need to do something we change our way of being. You got to do something different so that we evolve better. We are going toward realizing who we are.
Right.
That's what's more important. So try and do something different. Try to do either meditation or yoga or what have you, whatever your interest is.
Right.
Or go to church, go to pray, devotion. Try to find out who we are by quietly sitting down and praying God. Anything helps.
Anything helps.
That's
I
what we
like
should do.
that. I definitely appreciate this conversation. I'm glad I was able to meet you and become enlightened, and you've definitely given me some motivation to try a new way of life. I do attend church, I do pray, but I do find that I just kind of get upset about things that I really can't control. So this is something I'm definitely interested in, as far as just kind of finding my center.
Oh, that's very good.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure having you and speaking with you.
Thank you, Zoe.
Thank you.
Pleasure talking to you as well.
No problem. And to the viewers, thank you again for joining us for another episode at Seniors at Play. We'll see you next time.